So I'm going to take a look. This is the room that I'll be turning into my studio, and I'm going to take a little tour, take you on a tour around the room. So first we're looking at a white wall on one side and a kind of blue, interestingly painted wall on the other side. We've got a closet here, and what's nice is it doesn't have closet doors. It's just got a kind of a curtain. There's a couple windows in the room. Neither of them have direct light that's coming in, because that can be a problem. These are actually facing north, or they're covered well. The floor in this room is mostly hardwood with a tiny little area rug that's going to cause a little bit of bouncing. The ideal room would have a fully carpeted. And there is a light over here in the corner, which is nice, and there are outlets on two of the walls. So what I'm going to do is, oh, and also we have a mirror, which is nice just for prepping right before you hit record. So I think what I'm going to do is use the blue wall and the white wall and use this side of the room as kind of my recording studio. And I'm going to take the bed and just kind of scoot it over. So I've got a white wall and a blue wall. That will be my backgrounds. And I'm going to take the bed and scoot it out of the way so that I've got this kind of this section between the two walls, which will be where I'm filming. Now, if I didn't need to use this bed every once in a while, I would actually probably fold it up and throw it in a corner and just give myself more room, but this is still a spare bedroom. So here we go. Start by taking out all the stuff that's unnecessary in the room, just kind of getting it out of the way. And I'm going to take that bed and scoot it up against the closet. Now the bed is still good. It's soft material, so it is good for making the room sound good. But it is definitely taking up a big chunk of this room, and especially this corner here. If I'm talking with the blue wall behind me, I've got the corner of the headboard. But if I'm going to use the white wall, then I would have the same problem if I flipped it the other direction. So I like to sit when I am recording. Some people like to stand. But so I'm going to put this chair kind of in the middle of the room, a decent distance away from the back wall. And I'm going to set up my tripod. Now, this is not the tripod that I would recommend if you're just starting out, but I love this tripod. It is my tripod that I use for when I travel. It's a great, strong tripod, and it folds down to almost nothing. One thing is, I wish it got a little bit taller, because if you're standing up, you want your tripod to be as tall as your eyes. So it's almost tall enough for me. I'm about 6 feet tall. So with this one also, it's got a little clamp that you attach to the bottom of the tripod, and then, or to the bottom of the camera, and then clip that on. I'm using my DSLR here just as an example. I'm actually recording this with my Logitech webcam right now. That's what I would typically use to set up in this room. So I've got some light stands here. These I've had for quite a number of years, and they're great light stands. I'll recommend some other light stands that are inexpensive but still pretty sturdy for you guys if you're just starting to set up your studio. So the next thing I'm pulling out here are these little light sockets that attach to the light stand. So there's a couple of options. There's one that I definitely like better than the other. I'll make sure that that's clear in the equipment list. But all these do is screw onto the top of the light stands and tighten down, and you can put a bulb in here and also the umbrellas. So you really have to have a lot of light for video, especially if you're doing webcam. So this is a nice big compact fluorescent bulb. This is an 85 watt daylight balance bulb. I'm just making sure that it's sturdy on there. You don't want to break those. And then this translucent umbrella goes in front of it. There's a little hole in that adapter. You can put that through there, and that's going to spread out the light and create a nice soft light. Of course, you want to keep all those boxes and to store the light bulbs. Unfortunately, right now is when I'm realizing that I can't find my second light. I typically have like a 45 watt light bulb for that second adapter. But so I'm just going to kind of show you what it would look like if the light bulb was in there with the two lights. Now, the other thing is, ideally, these lights are a little bit further spread apart. Like maybe at a 45-degree angle from that chair, but the room is pretty tight. I've also got the light that I have that was in the room, and I'm putting in this LED bulb. It's a 60-watt LED bulb. All of these bulbs are daylight balanced, and I'll make sure that's clear in the description. So I'm just going to use this to light up the white wall behind me. It creates kind of a nice halo effect, but I did have to take out the bulbs that were in there. Those were kind of the soft white bulbs, and these, as you can see, they're all very white. So now I'm setting up the tripod and the camera to be about at eye level, and it takes me a couple times to get this to look good. I'm looking, you can't really see the LED screen, but I'm looking at the LED screen and making sure it looks good. Just noticed that I had one of those soft white bulbs on that was on the ceiling, so I turned that off. Now I'm feeling pretty good. However, I think I'm starting to sense that there's some audio problems in the room, and the room just has a lot of hard surfaces, and I can hear the echo in the room. So I'm going to go and try to get as much soft fabric material around the room as possible, and each time I'm testing to see it sounds just a little bit better each time. So there's some nice big blankets in the room, and I'm putting them over the windows because that's where the hooks are. So putting one over the other window. I use daylight balance bulbs so that if any light spills in, it won't be kind of a different color. But ideally, you don't have a lot of light coming from the outside, so you're controlling all the light. So I've got some pillows here. I'm just going to kind of add stuff to the room to try to have as much soft material in the room as possible. If you can, I'll have some panels that you could actually attach to the wall, which would be ideal on that blue wall if I had some sound-absorbing panels. You can put stuff on the floor, put stuff on the ceiling, just try to break up that hard surface as much as possible. And now I'm going to actually install my iPhone on the top of my tripod so that I can give you a couple of examples of what this looks like. Realizing that the iPhone has to be much closer than that DSLR, which has a nice zoom lens on it. So I'll show you what this guy looks like here in a second. And, I can cut off the background when I'm editing if I get like the window in there or the door, but trying to make sure that it's pretty straight up and down and that white bulb is directly behind me. Now, being a good distance from the back wall definitely helps. You don't want to be directly against the back wall or you'll get some shadows up there. And you want to have more light coming from one side of you than the other. That's why I have the really big bulb on the right, and I would have a smaller bulb on the left. I actually ended up getting a 100-watt or 100-watt equivalent, which I think is a 23-watt bulb for that second umbrella, because that's what I could find here in town. But I typically like something a little bit brighter. And like I said, I like to spread those lights out a little further from each other. So if they're a little closer together, you might not need that much of a bulb of a brightness. But you definitely want to use at least 100-watt equivalent bulbs. You don't want to use 40 or 60 or something. You're just not going to get enough light on you to make a good video.